just full disclaimer, I'm a bit of a nerd.
I would never have guessed that. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average Gun Girls. Okay, this is why I love this show, why I love this community, because
It's so good. It's so
if you listen to our intro, it says, we met on the gram. Our next guest, we also met on the gram. And I feel like that is how most of this community
is
built. Was built. Yes, is we all connected somehow. We had some reason, something that drew us to one another's accounts.
everyone was comfortable sharing this part of their life like on the gram, so you just started connecting.
Well, you know, it's so funny because there will be times I'll connect with people and this is the only part of their life that I know about.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, wait a minute, like, what do they do? I think they have a life outside of the jiu-jitsu, the gym, and the gun range. And that's what we want to highlight. We want to bring to life these people that we have found, these amazing women that we have found on Instagram, and really start to share and highlight exactly more about their life than just these few pieces that maybe they only get to see. And that's exactly what we have today on the show. This is Jocelyn, everybody. Hey, Jocelyn.
Hey, welcome to the show, Jocelyn.
This worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you were just coming to Dallas and not just to hang out,
I was going to
but
say not just to hang out.
No.
I would love to say yes just to come hang out. But so what are you doing in Dallas?
So I have a competition with the IBJJF tournament. It's the International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation.
I was like the IBJJF.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Foundation. Federation. How long have you been doing that?
So come October will be about 11 years.
What got you started into it?
So it's kind of a funny story. So let me preface this by saying
back us up.
Most women, they join because either their spouse, boyfriend, husband has done it, or they've unfortunately been through like an assault, or they're just are interested in it, or their kids had done it at some point. It was the way I got into it was kind of a funny story. Just full disclaimer, I'm a bit of a nerd.
I would never have guessed that.
So this involves a comic book convention.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, do tell. Yes, tell us all about this.
I went to this comic book convention in Houston. It's called Space City Con. It was the first time they were ever having it. And this guy was going to be a celebrity guest.
Wait, did you dress up?
I did. I did cosplay as Black Widow.
Yes.
So his name's Jason David Frank, and if you don't know who he is,
I do not know who he is.
I grew up watching the Power Rangers.
Okay. Oh my gosh! Wait,
So
was
which
he the
color-
red?
yeah, which
He
color
was
was
the Green
it?
Ranger.
Oh, he's the Green Ranger.
He was the
Okay.
Green Ranger. His name was Tommy on the show.
Okay.
So he was there, and so I grew up watching him, and I always wanted to meet him. So he was there, and when he was having his panel, there wasn't a big turnout, and overall there wasn't a big turnout. I think just marketing, they probably didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
So he after he finished his Q&A, he just paused and said, "You know what? Let's." Mind you, he at the time he was an MMA fighter. He did all the martial arts and all that stuff. Sorry, and so he stopped at the end and he pulled us out to the side. And he's just like, "I'm going to show you guys a few Muay Thai moves, a few things here and there." And he had one of his students demonstrating the Muay Thai clinch and like a few different steps. And so he paired us all up, and I was with my friend. And then he was, correcting people here and there. Okay, no, move like this, move like that. And when he came to me, he had like this genuine response where, "Oh, have you trained?" And I'm like, "No." And he was like, "Well, it looks like you trained." I'm like, "Oh, maybe I might be good at
In
this."
another life, I've trained.
Right, yeah. So after that, I started looking into things.
Yeah.
And then one of my Facebook friends from back in high school was like, "Hey, I noticed that you're looking into gyms. Why don't you come try it?" And so I did, and I think I tried it out for like a week, and I tried every single class that I could. I'm like, I'm hooked. I love it. I want to do it all.
I love how some people start something new, and you either I think your response is either I'm going all in and I'm gonna just do it all, or it's just it's okay, except for me. You went all in, and
I went all in. I did jiu-jitsu, I did MMA, I did like the cardio kickboxing class. So I did all the classes that they had available.
Were you into fitness before this, or just?
Yes, and no. I mean, I would like the most I did would go out on runs.
Sure. Okay.
I wasn't really into weightlifting, which I actually got into weightlifting because of jiu-jitsu. About a year after I started.
I'm just laughing because that's me. Like, I don't touch weights. I just run.
And then now after like I hit the weights, I love the weights. And
everyone says that. I just like can't get into it.
Gotta do the weights.
You need to give me some tips on like how can I end up loving this.
So you start this like full-on week of going all in, trying all these classes, going through the different like, I guess, what are they, like the different modules of, and then what led you to go BJJ?
So I did pretty much all the classes for a good solid 3 or 4 years. Unfortunately, I had 2 retinal detachments. It's kind of a long story.
You mean like retinal?
Well, I pretty much didn't hit the gene lottery. I have a degenerative condition, a few like genetic things, and so on top of that, with MMA training, like all the contact, getting struck and all that, it was not a good combination. So I had to pretty much stop doing MMA training, and I just stuck with jiu-jitsu for the long run, and I'm still doing it now.
So question, because anyone that goes and follows your page now would be like, oh, she is totally all about this relationship between your personal safety and these different disciplines that she's practicing and putting into her life. But was it always that as a connection when you started getting into jiu-jitsu? Like, did it really occur to you that you were doing this as a method of personal safety, or was it?
Yes, absolutely. So I at first, I was just instantly in love with it, right? But I was also interested in the self-defense portion of it. And I say that because I've practiced a lot of self-defense in the sense of self-awareness, where it actually has come in handy as early as the age of 14.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I've kind of kept that in mind. So, whenever I got into jiu-jitsu, I was just like, okay, I'm going to use this as a tool. I don't want to be in a situation where I could potentially be in harm's way, right? So
how, and I'm asking this genuinely because we get different people that are like, women don't need to carry a gun, just go take jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I mean, how much is it like it really could potentially save your life versus no, you still may need a backup tool? Because you're small. I would say like you were the one person that comes to my mind when someone, I'm like, I don't know, is a 5'3" woman going to be able to, use their jujitsu skills to get out of a
200
the way I see
dude.
it, I think that yes, it can help you, but not to stick around. It can help you to get out of the situation, and then once you're out of that situation, flee, run, if you have to
distance, get away,
firearm, whatever. Obviously, it depends on the situation, but I would say to get away, to create that space, right? Or to keep, like, if you are in close contact, right, to manage that space, right? But I'm not gonna, I've trained against guys that are much bigger than me, and I feel like I've been able to handle myself pretty well. But at the same time, we're all like under, that training aspect of things.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, but you're training against someone who's like using jujitsu against you. What about a scenario where the guy's just gonna use his full force and power against you?
In a full force situation, my goal is to get out of the situation. So I would, in that case, I would use jiu-jitsu to, to get out of the situation.
What about the piece, like the mindset piece? I would think like jiu-jitsu also gives you like, you've got a tough mind. You're thinking about things differently, but then also it takes away the surprise element. Like you've been knocked down, you've been on the ground, you've had someone on top of you. I would think that could also work to your advantage to take out that surprise element. That's, I think, what probably catches most people, men and women, off guard is be like, I just got knocked down to the ground. Like, what is going on?
Because by the time you your brain actually starts putting the pieces together of like what happened in terms of, and getting your mind situated to where your body actually is at that point. That, I mean, you think a couple seconds isn't very long, but in that situation, a couple seconds is a lot.
Right. Yeah. One of the biggest mottos in jiu-jitsu is learn to get comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And that happens all the time, where you have someone that's on top of you, or someone has you in a submission, right? In a chokehold. You can either tap or try to figure your way out of that position and into a better position, right? To where you can get out. And in the self-defense scenario, if you're using your jiu-jitsu, okay, someone has me in this position. Okay, what do I need to do to make my body, get into a better position where maybe I'm not going to go and attack, but I'm going to get out. I'm going to stand up, create that space, and run, right? So
how much of that training carries over into your everyday life and everything else that you're doing?
Oh my goodness. So I am an engineer by day. So, problem solving on a day-to-day basis. So I think jiu-jitsu is a different method of problem solving. Another way it's also described is like playing human chess. You have to think like, 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of your opponent, of your training partner, to kind of bait them right into different positions, right? And that's it, the problem solving aspect is one of the things that can carry through your day-to-day life, right? And I've been able to use that in my career, and also learning to stay calm under pressure too, when things get hectic.
That's key.
That really
How
helps out.
often are you training? Like, does it change when you have a match or competition coming up? Or is it
no, not really.
consistent?
I feel like I'm pretty consistent. I train about 4 to 5 times a week.
Is that for like how long does that last? An hour, 2
An
hours?
hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on the day.
Yeah.
On the weekends, I got an open mat, so it's 2 hours, and I try to, sometimes I spend the entire time rolling. That's what we call sparring in jiu-jitsu. But sometimes I'll take a round and then take a break. But when I'm competing, I do make an effort to do multiple rounds back to back to back.
To build up that endurance.
Yes.
I mean, you don't know how long this is going to last.
In the firearms industry, we know that it's changing, but it's been male dominated. Women, over the past, we've seen through social media in the past, 5 to 7 years, more and more women are starting to carry, starting to learn how to shoot. I'm assuming that industry is the same as very minimal female kind of participation, but it has grown. So when you first went to that week of where you were trying all the classes, were there a lot of women?
No. Whenever I first started, there was one lady there that was training, and she wouldn't go all the time. So many times, I was the only woman on the mats training. So wow.
How did they what was their reaction, or were they receptive to you being there? Welcoming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know I did have a bad experience with one woman in particular. And so with that bad experience, I have made sure that any woman that I see coming on to the gym or trying jiu-jitsu for the first time, I make sure that I'm welcoming to them, because I want more women to stick around, right?
I would feel so comfortable.
Yeah.
Showing up at a gym.
Well, because it is intimidating.
It is intimidating. Just like going into a gun range.
By yourself, as a woman, because it's typically all men, and they're not, they have that preconceived notion, especially when it comes to firearms, that, oh, you're a woman, this is what you should shoot, this is what you need to do, and we need to kind of baby you. And it's everyone is there to learn. Yeah. And to kind of step into being uncomfortable.
I do. I love that motto, learning how to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. I think
Right.
that's great, because I think that carries over into everything. And you have a
Absolutely.
one-up, and you have an advantage in your life when you have learned how to figure that out. So
Right, yeah.
I do want to get into the firearms
Yeah.
piece of this, because that's actually how we connected.
Yes.
I was trying to think back. I was like, how long have we known each other? When did we see? I believe that maybe you tagged Alexa in a video or something. She was making these really cute videos, and I was like, she's like exactly what I envisioned. I was like an Alexa woman being, and I don't know if you were still running at that point or not, but how long have you had your carry, when we're in Texas, I guess you would have had to have a license at that point.
Yes.
Before constitutional carry. So how long have you had your carry license?
Oh man, I think it was either 2019 or 2020 when I got it.
And when
Anything
did you
drive
start?
you? Yeah.
What got you into firearms to begin with?
So back in 2018, I was actually followed in my vehicle twice in a matter of 3 months, and I'm pretty sure it was the same person or same individual. I couldn't tell who or how many people were the first time around, but I was trying to get out of the situation, and I felt like, I don't know for sure, but the situation felt like was if they were trying to get me out of my vehicle and potentially something worse, right? So I was just trying to get out of the situation. I didn't get any license plates or anything like that because I was just like focused on getting out, right? And then 3 months later, I noticed the same driving behavior from a vehicle that matched the same description as the last time. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't remember, I was going like at a shopping strip. I was looking for a gift for my friend.
Like, was this a place that you frequented often?
Not often, but
you don't know how long they had been following you to the...
No, I didn't know, yeah. And actually, it wasn't too far from the previous location, too. So they probably, whoever that was, probably lurks around that area.
Yeah.
And my windows aren't tinted, too. So you could tell that I'm there by myself as well. So after that, so that situation happened. And again, I didn't get the license plate because I was just focused on getting out. I know I got a few other drivers upset, but I was like, you know what? I'm getting out of the situation. I don't care. You can be upset. I'm going to live, right? And I actually saw a vehicle pulled over on the side of the freeway, and I actually, police vehicle, and I actually pulled up to him, and I said, hey, this is what happened. What can I do? You know, like it happened like 5 minutes, like 2 to 5 minutes ago. And he asked me, did you get your license plate? I said, no. I'm like, we can't really do anything about it. Yeah. And so I was just, okay.
And there's not much they can really do about it anyways if the crime was not committed.
Nothing was,
like at that point, someone's just watching you.
Yeah, and like I talked to, so in jiu-jitsu, we have a lot of like law enforcement officers and people in different government agencies. So I spoke to a friend, and he's just like, you should still put in a police report. I know there wasn't a crime that technically happened, but you can at least put a report in so that if there is a similar situation, they can probably match it to this. Like, okay, this person has been doing this for some time.
Report.
Yeah.
So who was it that encouraged you? Maybe you should carry a gun.
So even before that, my boyfriend was telling me you should carry.
He'd been prepping you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, fine. So after that, I got my first firearm. I didn't have my license, so I just carried it in my vehicle. I was like, okay, it's there.
And you can do that in Texas.
Yes. And it wasn't until the following year where I had a face-to-face incident at like a broad daylight, openly, like fully public place.
What happened?
It wasn't anything that like physically happened. Like it was something that could have happened. Looking back, it could have been a worse situation, but so I was at my doctor's office, and I forgot my wallet in my vehicle. So I walked back in, and as I was walking back in, there's a lobby area where people are waiting for their valet. And there was one guy standing outside of the group, and it seemed like he whispered it to himself, and it was only intended for himself to hear, but I heard it as I was walking past him. He said, "Oh, she's back." I'm like, what? The only person that...
You heard it? He's like, "Oh, she's back?"
Yeah. And I'm like, I took a mental note of that. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm the only person that came back, right? So I took a mental note of that. I went to my doctor's office, went back and was looking for that guy. At first, he was outside. When I walked out, he was inside of the lobby with his phone right here. And he was like taking pictures. And I was just like, okay, he's technically not doing anything wrong. I'm just going to walk through the sliding doors and then go on about my day. And then I told myself, if he starts to follow me, then if he continues to follow me past the doors and outside, then we have a problem. I don't feel comfortable walking to my vehicle by myself, like where I'm going to be alone. So I decided not to. I turned the other way, opposite of where I came from, and the mirrors. I mean, the side of the building were mirrored, so I could see the reflection, right? So I actually hid behind this pillar and actually pulled my phone out and started recording. And then I caught him. You could hear on the video the snapshot camera snapshot, like
of
his phone taking pictures. So I called him out on it. I'm like, hey, you're taking pictures of me. I don't like it. And he was like, I'm not taking pictures. And I'm like, yes, you are. And then I'm like, okay, let me see your phone. Let's see it. I honestly can't believe that I was bold enough to do that. I mentioned this. Anyway, sorry, my brain is spinning. But anyway, so I caught him out on it, and he showed me his camera roll, and there I am, like right in the middle. And he was like, I'm taking pictures of the surrounding. And I'm like, yeah, right. And so I said, okay, you're gonna delete them. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, you're gonna delete them, and I'm not gonna walk away until you.
Are you are standing right next to him?
I'm standing like maybe a foot next
and you
to
don't
him.
have any form of self-defense tool in case this escalates beyond that.
But I was
looking back. Would you have done that the exact same way?
Looking back, I realized I was a little too close to him, and I probably would have done it differently, but I didn't. But I was prepared to. I was like looking at his hands the entire time, looking at his body language. Right, I was being cautious
of what your actions of
and
getting
close to him.
I was also
in a public setting, so I was also raising my voice so that anybody could hear exactly what I was saying. So if something were to happen,
were there people around?
Oh, like 10, 15 people around.
Okay,
and like nobody was doing anything. Yeah, of course, naturally.
Yeah, of course.
And so he deleted his pictures, and then I told him I'm gonna walk away, and I never turned my back to him. I kept my front facing him. I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna go inside of the building, but you're gonna keep your phone down as I'm walking away. And he's like, okay. I'm walking away, and he brings it back up, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. You're gonna keep it down. And he's like, okay. And I honestly don't think that he was expecting me to call him out on that.
I'm quite surprised that he was
bizarre
even
behavior.
That he was like saying okay, and like I feel like because you never know.
Right. And so I go inside. I finally go inside, and then after I go inside, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. And he was still outside. I eventually called security. They came. They didn't really do anything, obviously, because nothing technically happened. But I think they just like removed him from the facility. And then I asked the valet guy if he could pull my vehicle not to that spot, but to the back of the building, smart. Like back where like all the dumpsters are. And all that. I was just like, I don't feel safe like getting my vehicle this close to where he could potentially
he could take a picture
of my license plate.
Exactly. So I did that, and I got out of the situation, and then I actually shared the video as a PSA on Facebook, and I got a text message from a friend who trained, and she said that something similar to that happened to her daughter, and the cops told her that that tends to be like a human trafficking tactic. Where they will send out a scout in a public area. They'll take a picture and then send it to the person that's waiting outside, and then wait for that person to go into the vehicle and snatch him. Right? Was that my situation?
Yeah,
I don't know. And you never know.
He could have just been some.
He could have just been a random person just taking pictures.
Yeah, because he's just creepy.
But after that, I was just like, okay, maybe I should care on my body, and that's when I started looking into getting my license and my license to carry. And then after that, I just wanted to get comfortable. You know, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable using my tool.
So you've really jumped into.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, because you're trained, like you train pretty frequently, and you don't just like go to the range to train. You are seeking out well-known training and like legit like training courses versus just kind of like signing up at the range and going. Like,
Yep. I was so glad when you came to our Alexo training. Had you ever been to a training like that?
Similar, but not quite like that. Yes.
That was awesome.
I went
was
to
so glad.
a sheepdog response training by Tim Kennedy. Yeah. So I went to one of those. That was very informative, and I'm pretty much trying to build up all the knowledge from every training that I participate in.
Did they have a lot of women at the sheepdog?
So
training?
that one was an all women's one, and then
you're not going to these like with your friends though. Like you really have kind of just showed up and said, "Hey,
yeah, so
I'm here."
The first one I did go with a friend, and I actually knew one of the instructors. She was one of the female instructors in the sheepdog response training, and then the second one, technically. The WAFT one was the third one that I went to.
Okay. It was all women
and then
too.
I did go to another sheepdog response training. That one, I was the only woman there.
Yeah.
I went with my boyfriend. We went together. It was the carbine carbine course.
Yep.
And then I did the WAFT, the Alexa Athletica WAFT event. That was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That was very informative too. And just from all those training events that I've participated in, I feel like I'm just learning so much, and I just want to share the knowledge.
Well, how important is it to get training like that introduces you to completely different things at each one? I'm sure WAF was very different than sheepdog training. And how important was that for you to get, introduced to so many different things?
Well, I think everybody has a different method of teaching. And I mean, it's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. You have coaches with different teaching styles, and I don't want to learn from just one source, right? I want to gather information from as many people as possible, and I just want to be a sponge and absorb all the information as much as I can.
Well, I think when you're living it as a lifestyle too, you have to. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's so many women out there that either their husband or maybe something happened. They're like, "Oh, you just need to get a gun," and it's like, "Well, sure, but that's not. You just can't get a gun.
Yeah.
Like you have to have that understanding of the responsibility that goes behind it of what it takes, and also have that devotion to, I actually need to learn how to use this and learn how to use it proficiently, because I think a lot of people don't take that time, because of course it's like you work full time, you're doing your BJJ, you're training with your firearms and all the other things that you're doing. It's cost, it's time. And a lot of people just don't make that a priority when it really needs to, when you're thinking about your personal safety, especially when you decide to carry a firearm.
Yeah. Well, I think knowing to the limitations of each, and I think that is so important to, even if it's mace, even if it's a taser, even if it is a firearm, understanding A, what your tool can do, B, when to use it, but also knowing the limitations of that tool will only help you think through scenarios better. And I don't think people ever, I think sometimes even with mace, they'll throw it in their purse and they'll just go about their day and think like, this is going to stop. Oh, this will stop any situation. But have you really thought about at what point, how far away can they be to spray them with mace? Where is it going to spread? Like, have you thought through your tool and exactly how it operates and what the functionality of it could be?
The aspect of actually whatever tool you're carrying is, can you get to it?
Yeah.
Because it's pointless if you're going to carry it with you if you can't access it.
Well, and then your follow-up. Your follow-up with the taser is a whole lot different than a follow-up with a firearm. It's different than a follow-up with your mace, and you need to be completely aware of what is your follow-up and what is your action plan. If you're going to choose to only carry a taser or you're going to choose to carry mace, I mean, maybe mace will stop them. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe a taser will give you a little bit of time, but then you better be fast.
Right.
You better have been running on your treadmill. You better be ready to run away and know where you're running to and have just thinking through all of those things, not as a way to make you even more paranoid about the situation, but really give you the confidence to know, doesn't matter. I feel as confident as I can with the tools that I have and the situations that I could be in. And beyond that, we just kind of let what happens happen.
So you have it's called a match or a competition tomorrow night, right?
Yeah,
it's a match. So I'm curious, like, what kind of like mental mindset readiness do you do prior to stepping into?
So I do a little bit of everything. I do a lot of breathing exercises. I tend to get a lot of anxiety leading up to it. So I try to calm the mind, right? But also I like to visualize what I'm doing, and then also visualize getting my arm raised and being on the podium, right?
Yeah.
I do all that. And then on top of that, there is one scripture that I like to think about. I think it's 2 Timothy 1:7.
Okay.
For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And I think about that and, remove the fear and, have a good mindset going in, right? And so I think about it that way. And, I just, working on my breathing. I also make sure that I'm properly warmed up too, because you got to get the body ready to compete, right? Because you're going 100%.
Sure.
Right. So those are some of the things that I like to do.
Do you have a hype song?
So sometimes like I change it up. Like sometimes I don't listen to any music, but right now, I have my hype song has been, The Champion by Carrie Underwood.
Oh, it's a good one.
It like hypes me up. I'm like, yes.
I love it. Well, as we come to a close, we're just going to throw out like a couple of questions to you. This is just rapid fire. Say the first thing that comes to your mind. Well, first off, I'm just personally interested to know what kind of firearm you carry.
Yeah.
So I currently carry a Glock 43X. I also carry a Glock 42, depending on,
Glock girl.
Yeah. Glock girl. So
Awesome.
Last TV show you watched?
oh my goodness.
I'm training, Emily. I don't have time for
why I asked
this.
the question.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know we're watching a series. Oh, Jack Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, like the
You haven't
latest?
seen that,
Like the latest?
The last.
You haven't seen that one, right,
I think it's
Amy,
like
yet?
6 episodes.
I haven't.
Okay.
I can get into that later, but I've not watched. I haven't finished. I
It-
wasn't buying John Krasinski as like a field operator, even though I love him.
Conversation about this.
Yes. I know you're a Terminalist fan. Are you excited for the next next season?
Yeah. I'm super excited.
You actually met
you
Jack.
met Jack,
Yeah. Jack was having a book signing in Houston.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes, I'm going to go.
He's awesome.
And
We
he's
love him.
awesome.
Yeah, we do love him.
And I could just tell he's so passionate about it too.
Oh, very. Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell everybody where they can go to follow you if they want to follow along these jiu-jitsu journey with you or anything else that they found interesting today. Where can they follow you?
So I am on Instagram under Castle de Jocelyn with underscores in between. So Castle _de
We will
Jocelyn.
put that. It's down below. Yeah.
I probably should change it, but that is what it is right now. And
Awesome.
I've gotten a few questions of like, why is it Castle? It is kind of like welcome to Castle de Jocelyn.
I like it.
I like that, yeah.
But my last name's Castillo, so it's Castle in English. So
Awesome.
Castle de Jocelyn.
Well, go give her a follow and connect with her. If anything that she said, if you've been interested in that and want some more information, you can reach out to her. And she is super spunky and friendly and happy to help. So we just thank you guys for joining in this week. We'll be back again next week with some amazing episodes. So stay tuned.
Not Your Average Gun Girl Show and its related companies, Alexo Athletica LLC and Stami Tactical LLC, shares information that may potentially have legal implications for its listeners. A reminder that laws vary for each state, and we encourage listeners to seek local legal advice to understand applicable laws. Any items, services, products, and advice mentioned during the Not Your Average Gun Girl Show should be used at your own discretion in accordance with your local and state laws, and you should follow applicable manufacturer's instructions. Not Your Average Gun Girls, Alexo Athletica LLC, and Stami Tactical LLC cannot be held liable for your actions based on the information shared.